So now that we know how to create and call a function, it's time to create our first function that will be used throughout this project, which is simply a function that will create a directory. So it will create a directory or folder, and I'm going to be using the word directory or folder. So if I say directory, it means folder, and if I say folder, it means directory. Don't worry about, don't get confused, they are the same. So here we have a directory or folder called scraper, and inside it we have a file called functions. Now in Python we need to create, let me remove all of this. Now we need to create a function that will create a directory. Instead of going to the, for example, the desktop and then create a new folder, or here, instead of creating that manually, we want Python to create a directory. Why? Because we want to store information and files related to each project that you might want to create inside the main project. For example, if you want to scrape data from a specific website, for example, let's say you want to get data from a website that's called, here, let me create a new folder, a website called example, or let's say Wikipedia, for example, or wiki, just wiki for short. Then we want Python to automatically create that folder for us and then store any file, any data that we will get from that website, from wiki, inside that folder, not inside the main folder. So we want to create that folder automatically. Let me remove this folder now and show you how we can create a function that will create that folder or any folder. So here, first of all, you need to import OS, because we will need this OS in order to be able to create a directory. And now let's create a function. So I'm going to create a function def, and I'm going to name it create directory or folder. Let me just name it create directory, and then you can pass the name of the directory or folder you want to create. I'm going to say here folder name, and then in order to create a directory you need to call a function called make dirs, D-I-R-S. So here OS, this OS, and then dot make dirs, and then we need to pass the name of the folder that we want to create. So here I'm going to say folder name, and then you can call this function in order to create a directory. So I'm going to call this function create directory, and I'm going to pass the name of the directory. Let me name it wiki, and then save, and then you can run it from, as I told you earlier, from the Sublime Text build system and then Python 3, or from your terminal in Mac, or from your CMD in Windows. If you are using Windows, you need to open the command prompt. CMD, it's called CMD, or command prompt. Open it. You can search for it. Command prompt. Search for it in your Windows, and you can open it in order to run your Python script. So now, since I'm pointing to this directory, you can simply here say Python 3, and then execute this functions.py. And now I want you to pay attention to what's going to happen. Let me zoom in. I want you to pay attention to this area, because once I hit enter, guess what? A new directory will be created. Let me hit enter, but I want you to look here because it's going to be created. Let me hit enter. And as you can see, a folder called wiki has been created, which is awesome. So now this function will always create a directory whenever we call it. Let me call it again and show you what's going to happen. If I call it again, it's not going to create the directory because the directory is already there. So it will only create the directory once. And it's going to return an error. As you can see, file exists, error here, file exists. So we need to fix this problem. In order to fix this problem, we need to add a line of code inside this. So here I'm going to add if statement to check if that directory exists or not. So before making the directory here, I'm going to say if, and then not, and then os dot path, and then dot exists, and then I'm going to pass the folder name, the name of the folder, and then in that case, only in that case, if that path does not exist, if that folder doesn't exist, then we want to make this directory. We want to make that folder. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So if the folder already exists, then we will not, this function, once we call this function, it's not going to execute this line. It's not going to create the folder again. And the error will be gone. So let me now save and show you that the error will be gone. Now if I run our script one more time, Python 3 and then functions.py, and then if I hit enter, as you can see, the error is gone. And the folder will not be created again, and there is no error.